Some horror games are scary with friends, but alone, they feel completely different. I'm Alice, and this list mixes brutal survival horror, creepy mysteries, and sudden scares. A few might surprise you. Grab your headphones, turn down the lights, and let's dive in. Game 1, Resident Evil Requiem, brings survival horror back with a polished modern edge. The fear comes from tight spaces, unsettling encounters, and the feeling that danger can turn a quiet moment into chaos. It also carries the weight of the Resident Evil name, so there is plenty of story, exploration, and combat to balance the scares. I really like how tense the pacing can feel. If you're enjoying the list, hit like, subscribe, and comment your favorite game. Then let's dive into the countdown. The sound design, tight corridors, and sudden shifts in danger keep the experience moving, while its mystery gives every discovery extra weight. Game 2, Silent Hill F, leans hard into psychological horror and disturbing atmosphere. Its strange setting, eerie imagery, and slow burning tension make exploration feel uncomfortable even when nothing is attacking you. The story also gives the horror a deeper emotional edge, so the scares are not just about sudden surprises. I like the way the visuals create unease without needing constant action. If you enjoy horror games that stay in your head after playing, this one deserves your attention tonight. For Game 3, Alien Isolation turns survival into a game of patience. The xenomorph is terrifying because you cannot simply overpower it, so hiding, listening, and moving carefully become essential. Every footstep can make a safe room feel temporary. The space station setting also looks fantastic, especially when the lights start failing around you. I think the sound design does half the scary work here. It is one of those games that makes headphones feel like a terrible idea. Game 4, Silent Hill 2, builds fear through fog, isolation, and a story that keeps asking uncomfortable questions. The remake makes its ruined streets and abandoned buildings feel detailed, while the monsters add pressure without turning everything into non-stop combat. Exploration is a huge part of the experience, and every hallway seems designed to make you hesitate. I enjoy how personal the horror feels. It is less about chasing you constantly and more about making you wonder what comes next. With Game 5, Alan Wake 2 mixes psychological horror with cinematic storytelling. You move through strange environments, investigate disturbing mysteries, and deal with enemies that can make even familiar places feel unsafe. The lighting and sound create a strong nightmare mood, while the story keeps pulling you forward. I like that it can feel beautiful and unsettling at the same time. If you want a scary game with a narrative, memorable characters, and plenty of atmosphere, this is an easy pick. Game 6, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, gets scary by putting you inside a cramped, decaying house with very little comfort. The first-person view makes every doorway and dark corner feel personal, while limited resources keep the pressure high. Its mix of exploration, puzzles, combat, and sudden scares still works extremely well. I think the opening hours are effective when played alone at night. This is classic survival horror with a modern presentation, and it remains one of the genre's strongest choices. At Game 7, Dead Space throws you into a broken spaceship where each corridor feels like a trap. The necromorphs are dangerous, but the sound design and darkness create more fear than the creatures themselves. Strategic dismemberment also makes combat feel different from standard shooters, because shooting center mass is not enough. I love the sci-fi mood here. Remake adds visuals and atmosphere without losing that survival horror tension, making this a choice for players who like monsters and space. Game 8, MADiSON, focuses on disturbing images, haunted spaces, and psychological tension. Its camera mechanic gives exploration a creepy rhythm, because taking a picture can reveal things you really wish were not there. The house feels unpredictable, and the game is happy to let silence build before something changes. I like how personal the scares can feel when you are moving through rooms alone. If jump scares, puzzles, and supernatural horror are your thing, MADiSON can get seriously uncomfortable. For Game 9, Visage turns a normal house into a place you will not want to revisit alone. The rooms change, the lighting stays oppressive, and small details can become unsettling. Instead of throwing enemies at you constantly, the game builds fear through uncertainty and pressure. I think its slow pace makes the scary moments hit harder. It is a pick for players who want atmospheric horror, exploration, and the kind of tension that makes you check behind your chair. Game 10, Amnesia: The Bunker, makes survival feel brutally simple. You explore a dark wartime bunker, manage scarce resources, and try to stay ahead of a creature that can appear when you least expect it. The generator and limited supplies add another layer of pressure, because safety never lasts forever. I really like the open-ended design, since you can approach problems in different ways. For players who prefer stealth, exploration, and survival horror over constant shooting, this one is a standout. Game 11, Outlast 2, throws you into a disturbing rural nightmare where running and hiding are often your only options. The camera helps you see through darkness, but using it can also make you feel exposed. Chases come quickly, and the environments can shift from quiet paths to chaotic escapes without much warning. I find its atmosphere relentlessly uncomfortable. If you enjoy horror games built around vulnerability, disturbing imagery, and intense pursuit sequences, this is still one of the strongest choices. Game 12, Still Wakes the Deep, takes horror somewhere completely different with an isolated offshore oil rig. The environment feels industrial and unstable, while the creature design turns familiar machinery into something frightening. You spend more time surviving and escaping than fighting, which keeps the focus on tension and atmosphere. I really like the setting because it feels fresh compared with another haunted house. This is a great horror game for players who want cinematic visuals and a focused story. At Game 13, SOMA uses science fiction to create a different kind of fear. The underwater facility is dark, lonely, and full of questions about identity, memory, and what makes someone human. Enemies matter, but the story and atmosphere often create the strongest discomfort. Exploration rewards curiosity while constantly making you question whether you should keep moving. I love how the game stays thoughtful without losing its horror. If you like psychological sci-fi with survival elements, SOMA is worth experiencing. Game 14, The Mortuary Assistant, makes routine work feel terrifying. You examine bodies, prepare them, and complete familiar tasks while supernatural events slowly invade the workplace. The repetition is actually part of the fear because you never know when something will change. Possessions, strange clues, and sudden disturbances keep the pressure moving. I like how simple the setup is, yet the atmosphere becomes intense. It is a great pick if you want a horror game that feels creepy rather than action-heavy. Its soundtrack keeps the mood tense. Game 15, SIGNALIS, delivers survival horror through pixel art, strange locations, and a deeply mysterious story. Its limited resources make every decision matter, while the retro presentation gives the world a cold, dreamlike quality. Exploration, puzzles, and unsettling enemies work together without overwhelming the player. I really like how much atmosphere the game creates with that visual style. If you enjoy classic survival horror ideas with telling, SIGNALIS offers something unusual and memorable today. Game 16, Mouthwashing, is a psychological horror experience that relies on story, character tension, and disturbing atmosphere. Its isolated spaceship setting creates a sense of confinement, while the strange events slowly reveal a darker situation. It does not need endless combat to stay uncomfortable. I like how compact the experience feels, because the pacing keeps the story moving without wasting time. For players searching for a creepy narrative game that can get under your skin, this is a strong choice. Game 17, Crow Country, brings classic survival horror ideas into a stylized modern package. You explore an abandoned amusement park, solve puzzles, manage danger, and uncover what happened to the people who are there. Its old-school visuals give the setting a strange charm, while the horror still knows when to turn serious. I enjoy that contrast. If you miss fixed camera survival horror but want something newer and easier to jump into, Crow Country is a great recommendation. It feels fresh. For Game 18, Tormented Souls 2 pushes classic survival horror further with eerie locations, puzzles, monsters, and a strong focus on exploration. The game rewards careful searching, so rushing through rooms can mean missing useful items or important clues. Its atmosphere feels old school, while the presentation stays modern. I like that it trusts players to explore, instead of constantly explaining everything. If you want a scary game with puzzles, backtracking, and classic Resident Evil energy, this one fits perfectly. Game 19, Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, turns the familiar FNAF formula into a more story-driven adventure. You explore different locations, solve problems, and deal with threats that can suddenly turn a calm moment into panic. Pixel art gives it a unique identity, while keeping the series' creepy charm. I like how accessible it feels compared with some heavier survival horror games. If you enjoy jump scares, FNAF lore, and short horror adventures, this is an easy recommendation. Game 20, Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, expands the series with darker environments, puzzles, chase sequences, and creepy characters. The factory setting creates plenty of places for tension to build, while the story keeps adding strange details about what happened there. It can be scary without demanding the same patience as slower psychological horror games. I think it works especially well for players who enjoy YouTube-friendly scares and memorable monster designs. There is another hallway waiting to surprise you. Game 21, Little Nightmares 2, uses a character and oversized world to make everything threatening. The environments are beautiful in a way, and actions like crossing a room can become tense when something starts moving nearby. Puzzles keep the experience varied, while the story leaves plenty of room for interpretation. I love its visual storytelling because it says a lot without explaining everything. This is a great choice when you want eerie horror experiences with platforming and exploration. At Game 22, Phasmophobia makes fear unpredictable, because the ghost you face can behave differently from one investigation to another. You gather evidence, explore haunted locations, and try to identify what is hunting you. Playing solo removes the comfort of friends, making every sound feel much closer. I like how the investigation mechanics create tension without relying only on scripted scares. If you enjoy paranormal horror, ghost hunting, and replayable gameplay, this can keep you nervous for a long time. Game 23, Demonologist, focuses on investigating haunted locations while supernatural threats make the job increasingly dangerous. You use equipment, search for clues, and try to identify what kind of entity you are dealing with. The atmosphere is dark, and playing alone can make every small sound feel suspicious. I like the balance between investigation and panic when things suddenly go wrong. If ghost hunting games are your thing, Demonologist gives you plenty of tense moments without needing a traditional horror campaign. Game 24, Resident Evil 2, remains one of the best survival horror experiences for mixing exploration, puzzles, combat, and resource management. The police station feels like a maze, and Mr. X can turn familiar routes into sudden danger. Ammo matters, healing matters, and wasting time can make later sections harder. I love how clean the tension feels. If you want a scary game that balances action with classic survival horror, this is a great place to start for new players. Game 25, Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, uses a camera instead of traditional weapons to fight ghosts. That simple idea changes everything, because getting closer to danger can actually be the safest way to survive. The haunted island setting, eerie music, and supernatural story create a slow, unsettling mood. I really like how different it feels from typical horror games. If you want ghost stories, exploration, and a unique combat system, this one deserves a spot on your list.